Beer Guys Radio. We are here. We are live. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, Brian.
And Twitter.
They used to call it Periscope, but I think Periscope is no more. I think it's just all in Twitter. The Twitterverse.
I think that's right. And they do have something in Twitter for special going live things, which we may be doing right now.
We could be.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's not Periscope anymore. Unfortunately.
I don't know. Do you follow us on Twitter, everyone out there? Do you follow us on Fertile Ground? Do you guys follow us on Twitter?
If we say yes and you look it up while we're on the air, are you going to bust us out?
I'll look it up later.
We are totally.
We
absolutely, yes.
We do.
Absolutely.
Good.
We don't handle our own social media. How about that?
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Tim, I actually know the answer to it already, but I won't.
Oh, yeah,
I won't
Brian's
say
like,
anything.
I see.
I already know. I already know because I tagged them in something. So.
Yeah, but everyone should follow us on Twitter. Brian handles our Twitter account, talks about beer and really just total nonsense sometimes.
Yeah, like pumpkin spice Oreos.
Pumpkin spice
and
Oreos,
lambics.
Yes. Yeah, all the hot topics on there. It's a good time. Come chat with us. It's a lot of fun. So, and we're easy to find at Beer Guys Radio on Twitter.
Super easy.
But we've got Fertile.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah, we got weird artifact sound. Yeah.
Some artifact sound there. Crazy stuff.
All right. Well, it went away.
But you know what? We're going to get rocking and rolling here. We have Fertile Ground Beer Company. I can say that. Fertile Ground Beer Company here from Jackson, Mississippi. We're going to fill you in on their story. It's a cool story. And for now, we'll get to recording here. If you are watching the live stream and you have something to say to us, leave it in the chat. And we'll be back in just a bit. Backwards.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
Welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios, and this week we are talking with Fertile Ground Beer Company. I'm Tim Dennis, and with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Brian Hewitt.
Hey, Tim. So joining us today, we have three guys. We've got Matthew McLaughlin, Connor Reeves, and Matty J. They're all co-founders, co-owners, and various roles within the breweries. I didn't get all the roles, but CEOs, COOs, all of the C-suite stuff is represented right now.
We got it right here, right now.
So we're going to talk about new beers, cold IPAs, Camaros, and opening up a brewery in a city without breweries. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
You know, we were talking a little bit before we went on air here. I got family. I got kinfolk in Mississippi. I got kinfolk over there. My cousin just bought a house on the reservoir, long ago. So he just got him a nice lakeside house out there. So I have to go over and visit him. And in my younger days, we used to do a lot of fishing out there. No, Mike Nate knows about that. He's an outdoorsman.
Indeed.
So we go over there. Ross Barnett Reservoir in Jackson, Mississippi. That's old stomping grounds there.
Bass, catfish, crappie. What's in that?
We're lazy fisher people. So you just put some bait on there, throw it in. You're usually going to get a catfish, a gar. I've caught a few gar out there at the reservoir. They're fun because they fight. Okay. And a bass every now and then. So, every now and then we get a little crazy and put a lure on there and go for something. But for the most part, we'd go below the spillway, where everything was getting nice and chopped up. The catfish like to go down there and eat that. And we'd sit on the banks, get on the rocks, throw something in and let it do its business and take home a bunch of fish. And then the following weekend, have us a nice fish fry.
That is the best way to fish. I mean, I enjoy fly fishing a great deal. It's a lot of fun. It's hard to catch anything with it, at least for me. But just throwing some bait out there and then cracking open a cold one and sitting there, it's pretty nice.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Guys, are you fishermen?
I've done some of the fishing you're talking about.
Okay, yeah.
Not my favorite, but have done it.
Not your favorite. Do you like the other kind or just not fishing in general?
I like doing a little inshore saltwater fishing.
Okay, there you go.
That's sort of my jam.
All right.
I think that would be cool, but I've never had the access, the time, and the money all together at the same time to do that sort of ocean.
There are.
I'd like to catch all of them.
Beer and fishing usually go well together. You're out there, it's warm, it's sunny, get you a cold beer. No matter whether you're doing the bank side, fishing the bottom, or the inshore stuff, a cold beer goes well with it.
Well, there's also the fish whistle when we're waiting there to grab a bite, but you come on down here, we'll explain the fish whistle to you.
Okay.
The fish whistle. Okay.
The mystery.
That's
the
when
mystery
you're not catching
whistle.
anything and you're biding your time.
Okay. Yeah, that understands. I do a lot of drowning worms, I think, sometimes when I go fishing.
Yeah. Yes, as do I.
Yes. Guys, so Connor and Matthew, a little setup here. You are both beverage law attorneys, correct?
That's right.
So we have an interesting one here, kind of an interesting story. I haven't heard of anything like this before. And Brian, I think you have all the details on this. I just got the Cliff's Notes version.
Okay, yes. 3 Washington breweries are suing the state of Oregon over Oregon's policy of banning direct-to-consumer beer sales from breweries outside of Oregon. Their argument is that it violates the, quote, Commerce Clause of the U.S. Constitution. They're seeking an injunction that will allow them to sell, ship, and deliver beer to Oregon consumers, and they're also looking for self-distribution within the state. So apparently Oregon does allow shipment from other states, but only if there's reciprocity. So if Oregon can't ship to you, they're not going to let you ship to Oregon, is my understanding of it. So I don't know what to make of that. I've never even heard of such a thing, but this is really interesting beer news, basically. Beer law news.
So guys, I haven't heard anything of one state suing another for distribution rights. That seems a little crazy. Is there any precedence for this, or what are your thoughts on this case? Matthew, what do you think of this one?
So, the 21st Amendment delegated a great deal of authority to states to regulate alcohol within their borders. And the one sort of limitation, at least from a constitutional perspective, is the Commerce Clause and the Dormant Commerce Clause. There have been a whole bunch of challenges over the years of basing the theory on Commerce Clause and Dormant Commerce Clause, trying to expand, what people can do. But it's kind of all over the place. I mean, the case law is terribly inconsistent, and it's just a complicated mess. I mean, when you've got a federally regulated industry and the broad authority granted to the states to regulate alcohol within their borders, it leads to complicated situations.
So, Connor, with a case like this, going from one state to the other, do they have a chance, or will they just tell them to pound sand?
Yeah, I'm going to go with pound sand on that one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, right?
Probably nothing's going to happen on that. I mean, as we live in the South with a state that has historically really backwards alcohol laws, though I will say the past 5-7 years we've come a long way. It's got a lot better in Mississippi, but generally speaking, yeah, states can do what they want, and it's probably not going to go anywhere. And if it would, they'd have to take it to federal court and then probably go all the way up. I mean, this is a between two states issue, so chances of it going anywhere, probably not. This idea of a reciprocity, I've not heard of that one before, requiring that. Mississippi allows breweries and distilleries here to ship out, but we cannot accept, you can't get anything shipped into our state, which is ridiculous, but that's where we are. It only hurts the consumers here.
So I feel like, guys, I'm going to say, I feel like I can talk a bit about Mississippi and not be offensive, because my family's there. I did my time there.
Yeah.
And the laws are crazy. I forget the exact name of the beer. I think it was like number 49 or something like that Lucky Town did, that was basically saying we beat Georgia. We weren't the last ones. I know people like to get on Mississippi for a lot of things. They were last to do this, last to do that, but they beat us to direct sales over there.
Oh, to direct sales. Okay.
Yeah. Let me plug Matthew real quick. He'll also plug himself. Matthew's also the executive director of the Mississippi Brewers Guild during the time that we really was heading up the law change for that here to push for taproom sales. So that was a huge deal in Mississippi. It was an even bigger deal not to be last. But I want to give a shout out to Matthew for leading that effort here, and the handful of breweries that we do have that banded together to push that over the goal line.
Good stuff. And the thing is like, we're talking about state to state. It's hard enough to fight the laws in your own state, much less trying to go somewhere else. I've worked with the guild here and different lawmakers, and we've chased each other to be the last in some of this stuff. So
we actually are in a really good place, frankly. I mean, we work with clients all over the United States, and there are certainly jurisdictions that have much worse and much more restrictive laws than we do in Mississippi. We've developed a pretty strong relationship with our distributors and our distributor trade association, and outside of things that are completely unreasonable and going both ways, frankly, I think we're in a good place, and if we want some things done in the future, I think we'll be able to get it done. We're not like most states where the breweries are fighting the distributors every step of the way. We're in a real great position.
That's good to hear. I mean,
really
I love
good.
hearing that, because like we talked to a brewer in Florida last week, and he was just complaining about the things there that they just can't get done, and you don't hear that very often.
No, they're usually at odds.
Yeah,
I'll take it's not the law; it's the culture. We're increasing craft beer culture, not necessarily because the laws are in the way. I think the laws are favorable, and that's not a problem.
Well, and that's right. And to quickly sum up from the distro standpoint, which I was coming from, Matthew was able to plant the seed in my brain to advocate for modernization of beer laws when we were going through that, and certainly direct sales for breweries really was behooving everybody, and ultimately I was kind of thrown in the penalty box advocating for those direct sales. But you know what happened? Distro sold more beer, tap rooms sold more beer, breweries sold more beer. Everybody
wins, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Good stuff. You are listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We need to take a break, but we will be right back with more from Fertile Ground Beer Company. I'm not sure if anything changed on our production elements, but don't go quite as loud with it we need to take it back just a little bit. Yeah.
What kind
We
of
may have to start off the next segment with the beers of the week, Tim.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We'll just come in with that.
Not a big deal, but
no news for you, Brian.
Well, no, because I'd already researched that
story.
as a
Okay,
news story, so I just read my news story.
Read the news story.
So I got news in despite you trying to fight against the news.
I didn't try to fight against it. So our normal flow in our first segment is we have a little bit of chat. I talk about the beers that we're going to drink during the show, and then Brian gives us a couple news stories. But if we have an interesting topic, sometimes it happens. It's just
you just let it go.
It's just conversation.
If it's
let's go back to the beer then. I want to. You talked about Lucky Town. You're drinking a vintage Lucky Town beer.
We will. That's right. We are going to do that.
I think we're saving that for fourth segment, right?
Yeah, that'll be a fourth segment beer.
How much time we got before we come back?
We're flexible here. We're not stuck to a clock on this one.
Okay.
So, Matty J, you going to get that Lucky Town?
I'm trying to find it.
All right. Okay. Good luck, man. Good luck. Yeah, my cousin that lives over there picked that up. He went over, I think their last. There you go. That's the one, man.
There it is. The one. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, my cousin went over.
I'm trying to remember when they were all the other letters mean.
That was tied to the barrel.
Hey, see what our bottle says there. See what he's got there.
We've got OBSV9.
Let's see.
I knew it.
OBSV. So is that the barrel? I
think there were three different whiskey barrel distilleries that
because I recognize it from like Buffalo Trace stuff, right? Don't they do?
So
the
not
OBSV
only is my vision
stuff?
not great, but that's a little smudged. What's that say on that one?
It looks like it's.
Tim's in denial. He needs glasses. He just won't get them.
Is it? It's.
That's an O. That's an S. But
hey,
that could be a K.
OSVR maybe.
Can you see?
Hang on a second. Let's take a look.
Hey, I know you guys are keeping tabs on the news and stuff. Y'all see all the stuff going on in New Jersey about being ultra restrictive to
crazy, man.
Tap rooms up there. And
yes.
The number of events they can have. I mean, like trivia nights and stuff. That's absolutely ridiculous.
That's
crazy.
That's an out of control, I think, restaurant lobby. They are very angry at the breweries, basically taking. Yeah. Well, I think it has a lot. So there's a couple things going on. I think the restaurants are just punished by the state government or whatever, the local licensing and all that. Breweries do not have the same kind of financial punishment every year.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, licensing, whatever you want to call it. And so instead of taking it against the local government and say, hey, you need to revise this so we're not screwed like the way the breweries are not screwed. That's like, no, let's screw the breweries instead. Let's screw them instead of unscrewing ourselves. That's what we got.
What's absolutely crazy to me is how weak the New Jersey Brewers Guild has got to be. I mean, they obviously cannot get anything done up there, which is absolutely insane. I mean, absolutely insane.
I hate to think it's probably a lot of backdoor deals, but in a state like New Jersey with that kind of reputation, I envision that's got to be part of the problem too.
You want to just put that on? You got ice there, Brian. Right? That'll probably let it warm a little bit. Too. It's probably not a bad idea.
Let me do that then.
Shall I chill this for us tomorrow?
There you go. Crack into it. Little vintage.
I mean,
those are always fun.
The beer's 6 years old now, guys. That's awesome.
I know.
Can almost wipe it
in. So here's a fun before we get back on the air for the folks that enjoy the live stream video. What is the oldest beer you have had? Matty J, we'll start with you, man. What's the oldest beer you've had?
That I've had, probably, I'm not adventurous, but I would say about 7 or 8 years. I think I've got Fuller's like 2013 maybe in my cellar right now.
Good stuff. Okay.
All right,
Matthew, how about you? Or
probably about the same.
Okay.
And I can't think specifically about, but I mean, I've had some 7 or 8 year old beers.
Mine would be a 12-year-old Busch Light I found in the fridge. I was absolutely just jonesing. I was like, I gotta have one. Screw it.
I bet it was
much better with age.
You don't find a lot of vintage.
It tastes the exact same.
Yeah.
Probably
it's like those McDonald's hamburgers they put in resin. They last forever. You know.
Never age. Yeah. Brian and I had, I think, so I had some of the Sam Adams Triple Bock, was it?
I did as well from like
94, 95.
Yeah.
It was horrid, guys. It was so oxidized.
This year?
This was a couple years ago. So it probably was
20 years.
22, 23 years at the time. And it had a cork in it.
That's crazy.
And when you touched the cork, it just fell down in the bottom.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. Yeah.
So, but on the flip side of that coin, we went to an anniversary party of a fantastic beer bar here in 2019. And we got a 1999 bottle of dry Fontaine Oud Goose.
Nice.
So, and alongside of that, we also got a 2019 bottle. So we got to try the two beers side by side 20 years apart. And that was a very memorable and delicious experience.
How was that, and which was better?
So here's what we had.
Or was there a differentiating factor?
There was.
Oh, sure.
There definitely was. So, you know what? I'm not sure I would pick a preference there. I would say they were different, Maddie, that there was the older bottle, the 20-year-old bottle, all the flavors seemed together, woven together. It was softer, a little easier, smoother. I want easier, maybe not right. The younger one still had all the same flavors, but they each kind of hit their own note, and it was brighter and a little zippier. So that would be, what do you think, Brian?
I think yes, your description of it sounds about right. I preferred the older one, just the subtlety and all of it melded together. You could see the relationship between the two. You could see the similarity in flavor. You could taste the youth in the one, which was great. The softness of the old one, which I really, really liked. And for me, definitely the older one.
It was fun.
Definitely the older one.
You know what? We had, and relatively speaking, not crazy expensive. It was $65 for a 750. So, you know, when you're talking a 20-year-old goose for $65, I didn't think that was a bad spend. And we just shared it with every table around us. You know, something like that's an experience.
Oh, hell yeah. That's what it's all about. I mean, our head brewer, William Payton, I mean, he's enlightened us all. I mean, he's very, very well versed in classic European lagers and Pilsners, but I mean, it's truly old world. It's not just the Pilsners and the lagers.
Yeah.
It's you know, Lambic and Ode Bruins, and when you go into blending beers. And when you hear it from his perspective, and this has been my latest thing, it's all about perspective. But when he really brings it to the table, and he passionately describes, you know, why and how brewers do things the way that they do, there are certain beers that you don't even have a chance for those beers to see the light of day 5 to 7 years.
Right.
I mean, that's almost a third of a professional work lifespan, before you can try that beer. It's incredible.
Yep. It's something. Yeah, I love just exploring it all. Fresh, young, new, old, see what we can do.
I lied. That's a 2010 that I've got.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. You know what? I have some
Adam Silverberg, Brian, with the good timing.
Oh, hey.
Joined the show at just the right time there. Softer, easier, smoother.
That's right. That's what we're all about.
Good timing, Adam. Great time to join the show, man.
That was Connor's nickname in high school.
Was that it? Yes.
That's right. It is true. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tim, earlier, like really early on in when I first started getting it really heavily into craft beer again, after like living in Georgia where there wasn't much going on, I had an earlier version. Like I had that triple bock that you talked about that was all the soy sauce and all the problems. I had it when it was still good. There was a period of time somewhere in the early, I guess say the early, even before the 2000 teens, maybe like 11, 10, 12 in that area, where I don't know which year it was actually really good. And then I had it again and it was really bad.
And, and again, storage
it could
can
be
have
the
a lot
corks.
to do with it.
It could be the corks finally gave out on a lot of them after that certain period of time. So there was a weird time when those were delicious and then they went terrible. So I have recollections of it being both.
I think old Sammy Adams said to, cellar this one, right?
Yeah,
Didn't he encourage
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them bring that back.
We experienced some similar things with Green Flash Silva Stout. I mean, that was one of the notorious kind of like hit or miss beer. And we lucked out. One of the restaurants here did a beer dinner, and they invited Mostra Coffee out, and Mostra did some collabs with Green Flash. But the Silva Stout bottles that we had for that beer dinner, they were outstanding. But I heard a lot of really bad horror stories about some that weren't so much.
Yeah. I got some of the sour funky ones there.
For sure.
We're getting echo. Yeah. Just got some bad audio issues.
I just put it.
What's that, guys?
Yeah, we heard it on our side.
Nope, it went on. So the software sometimes gets. You know what? I think if we get that and we stay quiet for a solid 10 seconds, it kind of recalibrates.
That could be it. Yeah. It's weird. I don't know why it popped. It happened for like a second, like a couple of seconds earlier on, and then they went away and they came back for a while with that.
That echo cancellation software can be fantastic, but it will, if it derails, then you're out of luck.
Should have restocked.
Oh, whenever it cheers, I was going to tell you I'm out.
Me too.
You should have restocked.
Yeah, I did not think ahead.
You didn't restock of your own beer? Is that right?
I will pour you
downstairs. The next break, I'll run down there and grab one.
Do you want to go now, and then we'll get on when you good for now?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh my goodness! That's
you know what? I'm going to give a shout out to our friend Kevin at FontaFlora Brewing. He's in the Charlotte location.
He is,
and we saw him at a beer event. Double shout out, Monday Night Brewing. It was their 11th anniversary. And they put on a phenomenal event, probably the best tap list I've ever seen at a single brewery event, and rivaled some tap lists at festivals with multiple breweries.
Sure. Yes.
So really good. But we saw him there, and while we were enjoying one event, a brewer, representative of another brewery came up and said, "Here, have these delicious beers." And we're like, if you insist.
I like when he saw us, he's like, "Oh, I brought beer for you." Like
right there. Thank you, man. You're my favorite person.
I'm glad. I'm flattered. And how did you know we'd be here? I mean, where else would we be? Honestly, but
beer de coupage.
Beer de coupage.
Is this Brutus? Is that what it's called, Brian?
FontaFlora Brutus.
Mm-hmm.
Beer de coupage style blended spontaneous.
I'm drinking the rest of this one. It's not coming back around, guys. FYI, the rest of that bottle is mine.
FontaFlora's got it going on. I moved to Jackson roughly 19 years ago in June of 2003. That's pretty accurate. It's not rough, but. Anyways, so FontaFlora, they're in Mooresville, Mooresville, North Carolina.
Morgantown, maybe?
Morgantown. That's
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I lived in Hickory, and I'm telling you, y'all, like 19 years ago, the beer culture in NC was not like, I remember drinking Carolina Lighthouse Blonde, which was a small brewery on the coast of North Carolina. It was just a blonde ale. I mean, it's amazing the leaps and bounds that they've made in almost 20 years.
Well, that's what I thought. I didn't think the culture was there like it is now. But you've got they've got their farm, and I think it's Morgantown. That sounds right. I'm not 100% sure. They've got an Asheville tap room, and now they've got the Charlotte location. But I love their beer. And Todd
Their beer's
Boera,
fantastic.
yeah. And Todd Boera is just a cool guy.
He's a cool guy. We had him on
Kevin's
the show.
a cool guy.
One of the nicest people in the world, Todd. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're very traditional, but they're also very experimental. I mean, I love what they're doing with old world styles and kind of like integrating that with kind of Americana, if you will. I mean, for agrarian or whatever it have you, like foraging and all the things that they're doing there in NC.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great explanation of what they're doing. They take these old world styles, these goes out and grows some freaky deaky herbs and forages and just makes it awesome.
We should have them back on the show just so we can get some of their beer over here, because they pulled out. They're no longer doing distribution in Georgia. Last I checked,
they aren't.
The stuff that's here has been sitting on the shelf for a little while, unfortunately.
Correct. Yeah. All right, guys, shall we get back into it? We don't want to hold you all night here, so we'll get rocking again. And we're going to go just a little different. We normally do the beers of the week in the first segment, but I'm going to come in with those. So, Brian, I'll do the beers of the week, and then you can roll into beginning the interview portion of the evening.
All right.
Let's do this.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Roger. What's our back there, Victor?
Now, back to the Beer Guys radio show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys radio show. Remember, all episodes are available on demand. So if you missed the broadcast, get the podcast. Beer Guys Radio is available on the Podcast Park and all popular and unpopular podcasting apps. Now let's get back to Fertile Ground Brewing Company.
We're going to get to Fertile Ground here in just a moment. We're getting crazy this week.
Yes.
Doing things out of order. We normally talk about our beers of the week in the first segment, but we just had some solid conversation going and we kept rolling with it. So our beers of the week, which is sponsored by our friends at The Nest in Kennesaw, Georgia, barbecue craft beer, 360 taps, I think it is, Brian.
Or at least.
Might be a little exaggeration, but plenty of craft beer, good barbecue.
Maybe 720. Maybe
check them out. That's
the Revolution
the full
twice.
720. Yeah. But definitely check them out. Have some wings, have some ribs, have some cold beers. But what we're going to be drinking on this week, we just finished a Bell's Amber, which, Brian, you did a little trip down memory lane and picked up some of those.
Yes. I loved it, so I bought a sixer of it.
Good stuff, man. We are right now getting into a FontaFlora Brutus, which is a beer de decoupage style blended spontaneous ale, courtesy of our friend Kevin from FontaFlora. Thank you so much for hooking us up. This is phenomenal. Brian's got to bring a little IPA action to it. Heavy Seas Loose Cannon. Brian, that's another one that you just don't hear much about anymore.
Yeah, I actually thought they weren't distributed in the States anymore, because Heavy Seas used to be everywhere. Then it seemed that they seem to go away, and I think that they've maybe come back. I see Loose Cannon a lot of places suddenly.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah, I'm interested in.
Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, exactly. They've been here for years.
They've been here for years. And to honor Jackson, Mississippi, and their brewing history, we have a 2016 bottle of Lucky Town Bourbon Barrel Aged Imperial Stout. Matty J's got one as well that he's going to chill for the crew there. We're going to crack into ours in the fourth segment.
Excellent.
That's it, Brian. That's what I got. There's our beers this week.
Well, all right. So, guys, let's get things started with, how did Fertile Ground come to be? How did you guys all come together? How did this brewery happen?
We had a couple of local developers ask us a couple of years ago, right at the beginning of COVID. We developed here in a neighborhood called Bellhaven. It's one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city of Jackson. They were looking to have a brewery come in as an anchor tenant in this multi-block development. Right on the edge of this neighborhood, right off the interstate. It's an amazing location. They knew Matthew professionally and personally, and these local guys have been working on this for almost a decade, and approached us about coming over to talk to them about if any of our clients or anybody we knew might be interested in doing a brewery location there. And we talked through some options, and Matthew and I went back to the office, and as was our custom at the beginning of COVID and has probably carried on a lot since then, we were drinking a lot of beers on the porch. It was early spring. The weather was awesome. We had a couple on the porch together, and we said, why don't we do it? We've helped a lot of our clients do this. And we said, I think we can do this. I really do. And it was more to just being excited about an opportunity, but more like if we put the right team together and it was a truly Jackson brewery that, the community could get behind, that we could really make a run at it. Obviously we'd have to surround ourselves with some awesome people to help us run it day to day, because we still practice law full time. And we'd obviously need somebody to brew the beer, because my home brew is, I think, in a toxic site marked by the federal government. I really can't drink it. So anyway, we knew we had to gather the right people, but at the same time, it was like, let's do this. We ran it by our wives. They rolled their eyes. We didn't end up divorced the next day. And from there, it was just a matter of putting the business plan together and really assembling that team. So it was birthing it out of the beginning of COVID, but turning into something that really has turned into something awesome that we're super proud of.
So Matthew, you guys opened just recently, just 4 months ago or so, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And we talked about Lucky Town. So just quickly to kind of talk to relate to Jackson and Mississippi's brewing history. Lucky Town closed in 2019, and I'm not sure how long they were open there, but I know they closed in 2019. We went over there and visited them and had them on the show in the past. So we'll link that on our website when we post this up. So you can check out a little bit of the history there. But was there anything specific that happened with Lucky Town? Was it them, or was there something that was fight? I remember when I was over there, they were talking about the water and plumbing quality to their location, that there were some issues there, like City of Jackson water. But was there anything legally that hit them?
I don't think so. Those are our guys, man. Those are friends of ours. They were a client of ours, Lucas and Chip and Biggs and Angela, set out to open a brewery in Jackson, which was awesome. They contract brewed for a while before they got their facility open. And I think they opened in like 2014, 2015, sometime around there. And we're starting to gain some traction. I don't know that their closure was attributable to really anything in particular. It was, a situation where everybody still had a day job. Lucas had gone full time with the brewery, and they had a huge 20 barrel brew house, Blickman system, Wild Goose, canning line, and bought a building and went all in. And I think at the time, the Jackson market may not have been entirely mature enough or ready to accept a brewery. But they made a hell of a run at it. And I mean, frankly, we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys today if it weren't because of them. Their effort really sort of changed the way people viewed craft beer in Jackson for the better. And yes, I don't know that there's anything in particular. I think it may have been a function of timing.
Okay. I was just curious if it was, the climate, and I know you've mentioned that the brewing laws there are not hostile. So, good.
Yeah.
And I know that about the guys paving the way. We have an empty bottle over here from Dogwood Brewing that the owner of that, he went on to open another. But these are the guys that dealt with the terrible, terrible laws. So the laws could be a little better, so they could be a little better. And some of them, it cost them their business trying to fight through that. But Matty J, the culture in Jackson, Mississippi, I know you said that the culture is changing there. What's it like? What is it scene? Last time I was over there, remind me the name. Is it called the Pig and the Pearl? Am I right?
Pig and Pint.
Pig and Pint. So I went there. I had some smoked collard greens, Brian. They put on the smoker with the pork, had that, and had a good boudin balls. They had boudin balls there.
Oh, those are good. Yeah.
How are things changing in Jackson or in Mississippi, Jackson in general, whichever? How is the scene there? How's the culture towards craft beer?
I think it's a very progressive curve, and I got to give a shout out to Chris and Grant over there at Pig and Pint. They're actually we're working with them to smoke some malt. We're going to do a Roush Hellas, which is going to be really cool. But their premise is barbecue and beer. I don't want to say we simplify everything here, but it's all about what we know and we love, right? You talk about fried bologna or collard greens or things like that. It's not overly complex. They're just bringing good quality ingredients to the forefront. And I think that's what people want here. I think it's just a matter of being presented to them. It's not even being presented in the right way. I think people here are super curious. I mean, you talk about a state with a population of roughly 3 million, just shy of that. But I think when you're in your concentrated metro areas, they just want to go out and have variety. I mean, they love being presented with things that they're not familiar with, and our journey, you know, and what we hope to accomplish at Fertile Ground is, you know, we talk about being beer Sherpas. You know, our staff is in the evolution right now of all becoming Cicerone Beer Server certified. I think that's very important to us, and making sure that those people can curate that journey. Speak the same language that people know. I mean, I equate beer to music. It's a universal language. Everybody knows, they speak. And I think we have a lot of runway here. I think there's a lot of opportunity, and people just need to be given the chance to come into a brewery, whether they've been there or not, and feel comfortable. And then once we kind of gain that little bit of trust, we can take them to a next step, whether it's from a lager to a kettle sour or just a gradual, you know, transition into something else. But I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and I think people are super curious. We're fortunate in a position and a location to provide some quality product and offer them an opportunity to kind of conquer their curiosity.
And, you know, relating it to music, there's not a lot of people that just straight don't like music. Maybe a couple, but for the most part, most people like music. Maybe you like hip hop.
Yeah.
Maybe you like pop, you know, who knows? But most people can come together and agree they enjoy music. That's beer. That is beer for you,
yeah,
Brian.
I agree.
Yes, you're listening to the Beer Guys radio show. We need to take us another break, but we will be right back with more from Fertile Ground Beer Company.
I'm going to get a freshie. I'll be right back.
All righty.
Pig and Pint is legit.
Yeah, man, I had a good time over there.
I like the sound of it.
I mean, they don't have anything but barbecue and beer. That's it.
That's our sponsor and friend Adam Silverberg at the Nest. That's
their thing.
Well, you know, they do have a little more than barbecue and beer. They have some spirits. They have wine.
True. Yeah, and he does a fair amount of coffee.
But the essence of it is beer and barbecue.
He's branded into some seltzers, but I mean that's as far as he's gone. So Chris, one of the owners, he's a sommelier. He worked at a fancy French restaurant in Memphis, and you know, that's the mentality that he's coming from, but he's totally adapted his style into beer, which is super cool. And he's been super ingratiated with it. And, but yeah, that's it. They do barbecue and they do beer. And what's funny is so I've heard that the 22 ounce format has died across the country.
Yeah.
And here it's still got a stronghold. But the one thing that Chris always says, he'll crack a 22 ounce bomber. If you're asking the right questions, you want to try something, he'll crack it. If you don't like it, he'll say, no problem. And he'll pour it to the rest of his staff. He'll educate them and like help them sell it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I miss the 22s. I know that they were financially not a smart deal for most people. I think that they're like, yeah, anyway, I think the math didn't work out. I still like the format. I like the large format glass bottles. I like the 750 corking cages, and I like the 22s.
I don't miss 22s necessarily. I like 750s. I like the large bottle. I like the presentation. I like the whole event of it. You know, get you a couple Teku glasses.
Yeah.
Grab you a nice 750 of a nice lambic or goose or imperial stout or whatever you want. You know, twist the cage off and pop the cork.
The only other acceptable way to receive a lambic or a goose, in my opinion, if it's not in a 750, it should be in a bladder, and it should be a still lambic.
A still beer.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
I will accept lambic out of a bag.
I've never had that experience. Box. We were in Denver last September and went to Cohesion, that Czech lager house out there. It was fantastic, but like they were pouring other breweries lambics and goose, but very traditional in the wooden basket. You know, they rolled the bottles. It was just, you know, it was all about the experience, and that to kind of walk it out a little step further when you're talking about beer culture in Mississippi. I mean, people haven't even come close to that experience yet. Like our goal is to get there, but to get there, we've got to start simple and say, hey, this is a beer flavored beer. I mean, unofficial motto for the brewery is beer for everyone, but they need to understand like that tastes exactly like what we lifted from dad or granddad's fridge, like that first beer we had. But let's take a little step further. All of that came from old world European lager and Pilsner style brewing. And anyways, not making it overcomplicated. I mean, people here aren't simple. They're actually really smart and they're really creative and those type of things, but being able to present it to a way that's not like dismissive or like, offensive where they understand it.
I'd also say that like, it doesn't mean that a Pilsner or lager is any less craft. I mean, it's absolutely craft. And
there's some places absolutely killing craft Pilsners. We love it. We've got a few here in Georgia that we just love to go hang out. There's a couple places that do the Kolsch service, you sit around and just get always 20 centiliter. Is that right?
20 centiliters. Yeah.
Just keep bringing them around to me. I sit there running my mouth and they keep bringing me beer. It's the best thing ever, man.
That seriously, I don't know why more places don't do it because I mean, there are so many pints of beer I have not had because I did not want to go up and go through the nonsense, wait in line, do whatever, close out my tab and just go. But I'll hang out for another one. Why not?
Sure.
I think it's genius. And being 20 centiliters, always cold, always ready to go, never warm, never, whatever.
And it's a Kolsch, so you're not going to get schnockered.
No, it's not
sitting there hanging with buddies, just having your glasses.
I just don't see. The only thing I can figure is there's not enough Kolsch for that sort of thing to happen often enough, but it's just a no-brainer. If you've got a Kolsch, we got a keg of Kolsch on. Let's do a Kolsch service.
Yeah,
and it goes until you drink it all, or you tab out and leave.
Drink until the taps run dry.
Exactly.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time. I mean, we're craft only by definition, by like our ownership and cooperage, and like other than that, like to Connor's point, it's not. We can't not be anything. I mean, there is no limit. So, anyways,
we can't not be anything. I'm not sure that's deep. I'm not sure if I get it, but it sounds deep, man. We're gonna roll with
that.
It,
probably should be on a T-shirt, honestly.
Yes,
we're going. I think you know what? We're gonna make that a T-shirt. I like that idea.
We can't not be anything.
Maddie's coming off of 2 days of leading up the effort to can our first line of beer here. It's been a huge couple days to have beers available in cans for sale in the tap room. They're going live Friday, so he's having a few extra beers to celebrate, which he's well deserved.
There you go. Work hard, play hard.
Just lay on that canning line and get filled a couple of times.
Yes. We got to say a shout out to our buddy Stephen Pete, Kettle Rock Brewing. Stephen, thanks for joining us. The show will be. He said he was a little bit late because he's working. You got owning the brewery's tough stuff. You got to take care of whatever is taken care of there. So, but we appreciate you joining us.
Nobody gets to see under the hood.
That what I've seen enough under the hood that I know that starting a radio show was the right choice for me. So yeah,
well,
I've operated under the hood for like a day. I'm like, this is too much.
We've seen it, too much. Man. I got much respect for the folks brewing our beer out there because sitting around and talking about it is definitely more my thing. It's hard work, Maddie. If you weren't aware that brewing beer is hard. It's not like, Connor, you were talking earlier about home brewing. Brian and I homebrewed for many years. We did good. My first beer, someone drank it and they're like, well, it tastes like beer. And that was the best review I got of it. We went from there to winning medals for Mexican style imperial stouts and our Saison we probably get a half a dozen medals for that.
Yeah, we got a bunch of medals for it. Yeah, in different iterations of the Saison. Yes,
but hanging in your garage with your buddies, popping a few cold ones, and ordering pizza or firing up the grill is a very, very, very long trip from brewing a 20-barrel batch, 40-barrel batch. Probably even a 5-barrel, to be honest with you.
It's a full-blown production facility. Manufacturing, or even like it's like hobbyist versus actual manufacturing. It's
Matthew
a little
Dobb-
bit different. Like, oh, I'm gonna build a kit, a car from a kit. Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
But that's not the same as opening up a plant that builds cars.
Yeah.
Just
The
a bit-
difference in building like a model car and,
Yeah.
and like building an actual car
or
from
building an
scratch.
actual
Yeah,
car. Yes.
Yeah,
I was just thinking about there are people who build kit cars that are real cars, but still not the same thing as actually developing your own line of cars that
Correct.
you actually
A little different
manufacture.
story.
Just a
Right.
bit different. Just a
Yeah.
tiny bit different. So
We have a ton of confidence in our brewers, but I will say one of the backhanded compliments we take so well in the tap room is that's not bad.
There you go. Oh, that's not bad.
Well, it's I mean, again, it hasn't been presented predominantly in that way in Mississippi, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's good for us. There's a lot of runway, and not to be presumptive about anything, but it's a good opportunity.
Good deal, man. And the Untapped review, this is the best beer I've ever had in my life. 2.5 stars. So, yes.
it's like I had such low expectations. This wasn't bad.
Don't get me
Exclamation
started
point.
on rating our beers on
Oh,
Untapped.
yeah. It's always fun, man. We love it. We saw, gosh, I mean, the ones that I always love are, I didn't like IPAs before this, and I still hate IPAs. 1 star. I'm like, well, why are you bashing the beer if you know you don't like it?
Yeah.
So why are you drinking?
I don't like country music, Brian. So you know what I do? I don't listen to country music.
You know what?
Yeah.
Probably smart.
Yeah.
If it were only that simple, guys.
I know. That's the truth, man. That's the truth. I've had several discussions.
1
with
star.
people
I
about-
hate country music.
I hate country music.
I'll tell you what, Matthew and I have helped hundreds of breweries across the country with all phases of their business cycle. And, it's one thing to advise a client on how to do something. It's another to then do it yourself.
Sure.
We're
Yeah.
learning every day. It is unbelievable how much we're learning. And, I'm hoping it builds a little rapport with our clients. And I think it may, because, we're now on their side too in a different way and doing it ourselves. And not just in a little way. I mean, we swung for the fences, we put it all on the line, and we're really pleased with where we're at. But it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. I I'm not there, but I can imagine. Crazy stuff. Do you guys know Taylor Harper?
Real
Okay.
well.
Yeah, okay. I figured you
It
did.
would make sense.
I
yeah.
figured those circles are not very huge. So
Taylor's a great dude. We've referred each other work over the years. He's
Okay.
one that I call on if I get hung up on issues, and
yeah.
he's a cool cat.
He was pretty instrumental in a couple big changes here
Yeah.
to things. So
Yeah, I'm the Mississippi version of Taylor.
okay, cool. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Somebody's got to be, right? Be there for the people. For the people.
Somebody's got to be the beer lawyer
That's it.
in any place you're at.
I'm still sipping this FontaFlora, Brian.
I know. I drank it too fast, and I'm sad. And also, that bottle was far too small. Was that 375, a 200, a 150?
That brings up a good discussion. Like when you're doing a bottle share, what's too fast? What's too slow in the rate of consumption?
Man, you've got to be careful. More props for Taylor Harper there, Steven. Of course. Yep. You know what? I'm going to tell you, Matty J, that has changed for me over the years. As a young pup, when I first started doing bottle shares, you got to try them all. It's like Pokemon, Brian.
Yes, you've got to collect them all or
And
whatever.
you got to try them all. And then I get up to where like, well, I've had that one. I've had that one. I remember one time that I was at a bottle share and a guy came up to me. It was either with Hetty Topper or Pliny the Elder. And he's like, hey man, you want to pour this? And I very politely said to him, I was like, oh no, thanks, man. I've had that several times. Give it to someone who has not had it before. Cause there's just the one bottle. I hurt dude's feelings. Like he was trying to share this super special beer with me. And I appreciated it. But Nate, I didn't want to take it away from someone who hadn't had a chance to try it. And now I go to bottle share and I'll sit there and let everybody do their thing. And over the course of 4 hours, I'll try 6 different beers because I just don't care anymore to get that crazy.
Yeah,
So,
you're not trying to You're not trying to try 40 beers over 4 hours. You're trying 6 over 4 hours.
That's it, man.
The problem,
kick back.
The problem is they start off slow at a reasonable pace, and then everybody loses their minds and opens up their whales all at once. And in the past, oh my gosh, so drink so much so fast, trying to, I've got to try that. I've got to try that. And why are these all open right now? And that was always my beef with them. Like, I love this, and I really wish we could come up with a way to prevent people from just going crazy, because they start opening things. They'll just start sharing it with the people standing next to them. Like, I want some of that, but I'm also drinking this other amazing thing.
Well, you end up with a big bottle share where you've got a table with 40 half drank bottles, because everybody wants to share their beer, so you get so many open. Maddie, what is your bottle share style?
I'm with you. I mean, I tried to rapidly go through the progression just to make sure that I tried everything, and then ultimately you're lost. I mean, your palate's incredibly confused. I mean, there's zero saturation for anything. I'm really just very humbled by the way that you presented it. I would rather try 6 in 4 hours rather than 40 in 4 hours, because it's my life has taught me this. It's quality over quantity, and
sure enough,
relatively speaking,
right.
But anyways,
are we talking about beer?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think
I mean, look, I'm very fortunate to be sitting next to my cellar, and every time I go over there, I've only been able to answer one call. I'm gonna give them a shout out again.
There you go.
But other than that, if I were to look at my cellar and to have all of us over here, so that makes 6 of us, we would have a much more quality experience with perhaps some of the brown water on top shelf with about 6 quality bottles of beer, rather than going through my I don't have a huge cellar, but I mean maybe 60 bottles. I mean we could go through 60 bottles in a night, but that wouldn't be as much fun if we went through 5 and really talked about it.
Define fun.
Reminds me,
I know the story Brian's about to tell.
Before Tim gets into the story that he wants to tell, I had I think it was a birthday party, and I put together a full list of beers. And it might have been around 40. I don't know what it was. But I put together a full list of beers, like 20, 30 beers, had them all iced up. I had filled up a tub with ice, put them all in there, so everything was cold. And I had invited everybody I knew over. Like, not everybody, because, we're no longer young, but not everybody showed up. But the people who did, I'm like, all right, let's get into some. We only went through maybe, we might have made it through 10. And I was a little disappointed, because I was looking forward to clearing things out, because I remembered
the flip side of this
that we went to your thing.
My cellar was overrun. It was just too much beer in the house. So I threw a bottle share, and I told everyone, come out. We're going to open 100 bottles tonight. Come out. And I'll tell you this, we made it to about 85.
Is it 85?
So we couldn't get to 100, but I think we had maybe 20 people there.
Yes.
So 20 people and 85 bottles opened, is a pretty impressive accomplishment in one night.
Your living room table was about the size of our table here, and I think it was completely covered with bottles that had been opened. Maybe not all drained, but all of them had been opened, and somebody had tried something out of them. And I was hoping for the same thing at my place, and I can't even imagine what
got the lightweights there somehow, huh?
Yeah, well, I didn't have 20 people to show up. There are reasons. I mean, obviously the parking situation and all that sort of thing. Also, a few years later, we're a little older, we're a little more, maybe more responsible, maybe more hangover shy. Don't know which. We didn't make it. I was jealous. I wanted to do that again. I wanted to reconquer that moment in history. Yes, the 80 bottles.
Yeah, Connor, how about you, man? How do you go into a bottle share?
Typically, it's brown water. That's my go-to in bottle share. I'm a beer drinker. I drink a lot of beer. I'm not really in the category of never really ran with a crew that was into bottle sharing beer.
Okay, and, fair enough.
If I stumbled on if I got invited to somebody's dinner and they happen to pull out a bottle or two of a beer like that, I mean, that was a really cool experience, because I didn't come from that world, and I didn't even know what I was drinking, but they were pumped about it. So I was excited about it. And, I didn't know what I was drinking at the time. Now I've learned a lot about beer along the way, and Maddie certainly, and Matthew educated me a lot on the beer side. I get together with my buddies, and we do a lot of bourbon sharing, and that's always fun too. But I really like a beer bottle share because, for me, everything's new. I'm the new guy. So
Good stuff.
all that stuff
Yeah.
is brand new, and that's always super exciting.
Whiskey shares are awesome, and I know a guy
Yeah,
who
they're
does
dangerous.
those.
He does those really well too.
And
Yeah.
wow, yeah, those are insane.
Matthew, we got to ask you, man. How about you? How do you do bottle shares?
I'm kind of like Connor. I've been to a bunch and I enjoy them, but I don't have a cellar. We kind of drink beer quick in our house. My
Okay.
wife
Yeah.
have beer, and it just doesn't sit around very long.
All right.
So, I would say Matthew and I are in the category of we bring back a lot whenever we travel, but it doesn't last long when it hits the house. So
Okay.
we bring it to the office and we're taking it out of the brewery, and but I don't know.
You
Maybe
drink it.
Maybe I'm just not
right?
Maybe I'm just not a very patient guy. I can't let it sit that long.
I was like, do you remember your first batch of homebrew? Like how long it seemed to take for that to be ready? It's like, oh my gosh, how long has it been? 2 years?
Seriously, yeah.
Well, I just remember doing, I can't even tell you guys how many events on the distro side. And you know what's funny? When we rolled out a new beer, you know what the first question was after that person tried it? They came to us and they said, "What's next?" I mean, it wasn't about what you released that night. It was about what's next.
So, Maddie, a little story I've got that to relate to that. We had a brewery open here in the Atlanta area, Halfway Crooks Beer, and they are absolutely, absolutely killing the Pilsner, old world lagers, easy drinking beers. Have you seen the hats that say lager, 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 lager? It's just like an industry font that says. So I've seen them on brewers in Europe, Chicago. They kind of got a cult following, but that's their thing. So when you get a chance, Google lager, 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 lager hat. You'll find it. So they're phenomenal. I mean, they're just phenomenal. And I remember the weekend after they opened, someone posted in a local beer forum and they said, anyhow, it was a complaint. They were throwing kind of a fit. I went down there and they only had 5 beers on tap. I was in and out of there in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's not the brewery for you then.
No, it's not designed for you.
As they say, getting those ticks, chasing those ticks on
chasing
there.
The whales.
And
hype boy beers, baby.
Yeah. Yep. That brewery is for someone who wants to go. This is a true story. We actually did this. Sit on the rooftop patio with a cool breeze going with a bunch of your friends watching competitive sheep herding on the TV or the Westminster Dog Show.
Yes, on ESPN, the Ocho.
The Ocho, baby. The Ocho.
The Ocho.
The Ocho.
Yeah. So that's it. We're sitting around having a conversation, drinking low ABV, delicious.
Yeah, great
low
stuff. Some larger format saisons there too.
They
that
do.
maybe higher
Saisons
ABVs,
and
maybe a little bit,
blended
but they're phenomenal too.
Bold move there, Cotton.
That's right.
No, right.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, the opportunity is right, but it doesn't have to be, super hype boy. Again, going back to William, our head brewer, he's really honed me in. I mean, I was a hype boy, juicy milkshake, whatever. I mean, but there's something to be said about the way that they've been brewing beer for thousands of years now. Is that right?
Don't mess with it, man. Classic stuff there.
Yeah.
All right. Are we on 3?
Yeah.
We're on 3.
Yeah. Everybody, we're getting that feedback loop again. Let's all just be quiet for a few seconds. I think it's fixed. No. Hiss, click, hiss.
What's going on?
I don't know. Guys, I tell you what, let's try the other way. Everybody say something real quick. See if we can.
Holla.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Checking 1, 2, 3. I think that did it.
Oh, it's gone. Okay.
I think what it is echo cancellation software listens for silence, and every now and then it'll get a little out of sync with itself. So especially when we have a lot of people together, it
gets confused.
It can be finicky.
Yeah.
It can be finicky.
Yeah.
So,
well,
all right.
Stoke in the beer business.
Right. Exactly. Is this 3, Nate?
This is 3.
1 to 3. Okay. Good. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1,
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Cannonball coming.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our newest radio affiliates, KUHL 1440 AM in Santa Maria, California. Catch Beer Guys Radio and KUHL every Sunday at 4 a.m. That's prime drinking time right there.
It's good drinking time, man.
Now let's get back to Fertile Ground Beer Company.
Beer Company.
Beer
that
Company.
is it. Guys, the name Fertile Ground Beer Company, we hear there is a story there. Do you want to share how that came to be?
Matthew, take it.
I'll do that. So back in, I guess it would have been 2014 or 2015, there was a TEDx event in Jackson. It was the first TEDx event for the city of Jackson, and it was themed Fertile Ground. And the whole kind of thesis around all of the conversations were, Mississippi being this fertile ground for entrepreneurship and, urban redevelopment and all of these other things. And it struck a chord with me. And when Connor and I first started putting pen to paper to do this, I remembered that day I was there, and I had an incredible time, and it seemed to fit. We want to be kind of a fertile ground for other entrepreneurial ventures. Mississippi is largely a fertile ground for craft beer. Jackson is certainly a fertile ground for craft beer, and so that's kind of the genesis of the name.
I'll just add that people have been gathering to drink beer together for thousands of years to cook up ideas, and hopefully whether people are coming in our tap room or they're enjoying our beer at home or somewhere else, that it'll kind of cultivate community or help folks with their next big idea. That's kind of what we see. And for Mississippi, it was all about being positive too. We didn't want to tie it to something in the past. That's never a good way to go in Mississippi. And really, we want to look forward because there's a lot of good stuff going on. And we thought there would be a positive name. It looked to the future, and certainly it's only up for craft beer in Mississippi. Being at the bottom for so long, it's pretty much a clean slate in front of us, and which is really exciting. I mean, we've got an opportunity to introduce people to craft beer and get a lot of new people on the craft beer team. So it's just it's a multifaceted name.
When we changed our beer laws in 2017 to allow for direct sales, I was talking to some people who had been in the business for a while, and they made the comment, it really stunk to work and live through these terrible laws, but man, it sure is cool to be here now.
Yeah.
So kind of like what you're saying, look, we've been a little behind. We're catching up. We beat Georgia to direct sales, so we got that going for us.
Yeah.
The culture is here. The community is receptive. Okay, we're a little behind, but man, it's cool to be here now, to start that off. I know there's a few in the Gulf Coast, and we know Hattiesburg, Brian, crowd control.
Southern Prohibition.
Southern Prohibition. We love those guys.
Good friends of ours. Yeah.
Gosh, is it Lazy Magnolia? Is that the one that's,
OG.
I mean, they've been around
the oldest
forever.
one. They're the oldest one in state, I think.
Yeah. Do you guys know when they opened or how long they've been around?
2005.
Yeah.
2005. Okay.
I've been their lawyer since the very beginning.
Cool.
That's a total different. We can have another section dedicated to that story.
A total show there. See,
these two guys have done a hell of a job being the torchbearers on the modernization of these beer laws. And I'll tell you this, from the distro perspective and now being on the supplier side, like it has really opened up, the expanse that we have now. But it's been truly rewarding seeing it from now this perspective, what we're capable of and the opportunity ahead.
So thinking about the looking forward and just what's new, I heard something. I don't know who said it, but it was in an interview. You were talking about Brewery 2.0, and it's a phrase I'd not heard before. And I'm in IT, so I hear about Web 2.0, Web. I don't know. We got 3.0 now. I don't even know where we're at. I think it's 3.0. What is Brewery 2.0? What is that? So
it's a phrase we came up with from from what I could tell in very limited research. So when we set out to design this brewery, everybody has been to a brewery, and you walk in, and 9 times out of 10, the experience is dark chalkboard, wood, metal, dudes that look like us. And sometimes that's intimidating and not very inviting to a lot of people. I mean, I've been in breweries and I know a lot about craft beer, and I've been intimidated. And so we really tasked our design team to go in the complete opposite direction from a design aesthetic, lighten it up, make it clean, incorporate some colors. Let's make it easy to understand. Let's make it approachable. We want to make beer for everybody. We want to have something for everybody. And so the interior design has to be welcoming to everybody. And so we went in the complete opposite direction of every brewery that was built or constructed in the last 10 to 15 years, which was in an industrial complex with a lot of wood and metal and heavily industrialized. And so it made sense to us. The easiest way to describe it was brewery 2.0. As the industry grows, we're the next version, we're the next iteration of that, both from a design perspective, but also from a liquid and beer kind of thesis perspective as well.
I feel like Matthew is attacking my favorite breweries here, Brian.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was thinking about it.
You haven't been to your favorite brewery yet. You'll go when you come back to Jackson.
Yeah. Go, okay.
When you visit, you'll know.
Matthew, I didn't think about it when I saw the pictures of your tap room, but now that you mention it to me, I'm like, you know what? Absolutely, the bright, open,
welcoming.
Just different. Did you see the pictures, Brian, of their tap room?
I've seen it. I saw a few. Whatever you had on Instagram and social media.
It kind of reminded me of Red's Beer Garden here in Atlanta.
Yeah,
it's not a dig. It's not a dig on anybody else. In fact, what it is it's just the next phase, right? The phase one, 1.0 was all the biggest boom that was 10 years ago, and the second wave, I guess 5 to 7 years ago. And a lot of it looked and felt the same, and nothing wrong with that. We've spent a lot of time and money in all of those places, and I'll continue to do that. We just wanted to do something fresh, and I think that was what we were going for. Was sort of what's the next look, and the way to really, as we've kind of approached it with our beers, let's get a whole bunch of new people in on this craft beer team, and you're going to do that, we think, by kind of going after the next feel.
Sure.
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense.
It's not a reinvention of the wheel. It really is standing on the shoulders of the giants that came before us. And that includes those folks like Lucky Town, those folks like Lazy Magnolia, those folks that were here and are no more in the Magnolia state. Like it is really just taking what those people have laid in that foundation and trying to make it really approachable to everyone. I mean, not that they didn't do a good job of that, but like we want to kind of take that and say, okay, how can we present this in our own way? Again, not reinventing the wheel, but just kind of saying, hey, we're here. The door's open. The lights are on. Come on in.
Right. And that's something, we talk a lot about being welcoming and being diverse, that everybody feels welcome in your tap room. And in Atlanta, I think we're ahead of the curve with racial diversity because of the type of community we have here. We have several Black-owned breweries here, more coming along. We have some celebrities that have opened beers, Nappy Roots, as we mentioned many, many times, that they have a reach that maybe just your average guy is not going to have. So more people are taking note of that. And there's still issues, whether it's gender or race or what have you, but you want to have a brewery where, no one feel, I wouldn't want anybody to walk into a brewery and automatically feel intimidated. Matthew, you mentioned, I know beer, and sometimes you can go into a brewery. I mentioned, I won't call out any names here on the show, but we talked before we got on air about a bottle shop I visited in Jackson. And even though I know beer quite well, I didn't feel welcome there. I felt like they didn't want me there, really. So, and no one should feel like this is beer, man.
Everybody likes beer.
Everybody come and
beer
join
should
it.
welcome everybody. It's
like
available.
music, baby.
That's
everybody
right.
Speaks it. They know it.
Beer, music, barbecue.
That's right.
Brown water. Life's greatest things. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We need to take us another break. But we'll be right back with more from Fertile Ground Beer Company.
Go back.
I actually have two of these
bathroom break.
I was thinking about that too.
The
You
seal
didn't even
has
get into
been
the heavy
broken.
C's, and I enjoyed this. The IPA. There's another can for you, Tim, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll get into
But
it.
now
Remember this one?
we're coming into the next segment. You
like
may have
that.
to
I
skip
like
it
that
to get into Lucky Town.
Oh, I do got to get the Lucky Town.
That's
We're in the
right.
fourth segment,
Yeah. Let me do that.
A little bit. I do. I dig that one a lot. That's most of my knives are bigger, but that little one, it's a favorite.
I'm still trying to figure out what the barrel number is, because it looks like it's an ORSK or OESK, perhaps ODSK. I don't know. Interesting. So that would imply most likely. Oh, it looks like everybody's gone but me. So we are still live streaming, and now it is the Brian Show. Brian is looking at a bottle of Lucky Town, trying to figure out what barrel it went into from Buffalo Trace. All righty. Yes. 10.3% alcohol by volume. Oh, hey, there we go. Yeah, we're technically still live streaming, and everybody went away for a restroom break. It's like, this is the intermission, folks. We'll be right back.
You're like, hey, it's just me. I guess I'll just talk to myself.
Yeah, I was looking at this and talking, and then I looked up and everybody was gone. I'm like, oh, it's just me. All right,
sorry,
I'm talking
man.
to myself.
I got little kids. I have to go check on everybody, make sure they're good.
You're not all are you all in the same house or something like that? Just different rooms?
No, we're in 3 different places.
Okay, I thought so, but it's like, hey, you know what? Whatever works for you guys. I know the housing market can be interesting, so maybe it's a very large house. It's split 3 ways.
Our law office there's only 3 attorneys, and it's an old house. It's an old Victorian house built around 1900, and so it often does look like this. I mean, Matthew's at the office. It might as well look like a house, but it's just down the street from the brewery too, so we're always together.
A place, I'm in IT, a place, that small firm that I worked for prior to where I'm working now was based in a house that probably is not too dissimilar from your legal offices. There would be just desks in what had been somebody's living room probably. And so we would just, it was really interesting. It's interesting working in a place that's basically somebody's former house, just the way it's laid out, because you've got the interesting kitchen and all that sort of thing built into the design. So it's interesting compared to having worked other places that are more traditional floor plan without all the hallways and the basically bedrooms that became
we love it, man. We've got like 3 bedrooms that are offices. We have a full kitchen. We have a food fridge, and we have a beer fridge, and it works out really well.
See, and if you've got a bathroom in there, you probably have a shower. So if you guys decide to go for a jog or something like that, you come back to the office and take a shower.
We try. During the summertime, it's a little difficult because it's so hot, as you know. But yeah, we all have the ability to go exercise, and we're trying to do a little bit more. Especially now we're drinking beer at the brewery way more frequently than we ever have. There it is.
Yeah, there we go.
The freshest beer in the world, right there.
I've switched to domestic. I did not procure any of my fruits of the labor.
Some Yingling. Oh, that'll work. Just pretend. That's
hey, they're still craft by definition,
and their beer is still damn delicious.
It is. You know what? Tim and I, and he would probably go into this if he were sitting here right now. We went to a bowling alley just for the heck of it one weekend. We took a break from doing beer events, and we're like, we're gonna go bowl. Why not bowl? So we sat at the bar waiting for our lane, and we said, you didn't have a lot. We're like, let's have a Yingling. They must have had the world's freshest keg of Yingling on. It was beautiful. Beautiful. Man. I'm like, and I've had it a few places since, and I'm like, right now, one of the finest beers in the world is that bowling alley Yingling. And if I could find anything like it,
so
I am, because he just cracked open a Yingling, and I know you would get into it had you been sitting here at the time.
So I love those guys, and I was the craft brand manager at a Bud House for almost 8 years, and we procured the rights to distribute Yingling. And obviously, Yingling is the closest direct competition to ABI, and to bring it into the house, it was the spark to the gasoline that was already poured on the fire, etc. And anyways, I went to school 40 miles north of Charlotte, North Carolina. I had buddies that would big lacrosse program there. They all lived in Jersey, PA, New York, all up there in Connecticut in the Northeast. And they'd all bootleg Yingling back down, and you'd give somebody $100. They'd bring you 5 cases, and you were just in Hog's Heaven for a couple days with
Man,
cases.
I brought back black and tan for my granddad for years. Whenever we'd travel down to, I go to Florida for a beach trip or something like that.
There you
go. Bring back some black and tan, and he'd nurse it for a whole year or something like that.
I went to Philly for business several years ago, and I went to, I think it was a Walmart close to my hotel, and I walked the whole store and can't find the beer, and I'm like, where's the beer? And they look at me and they're like 2 blocks down the road. I'm like, what? So, and they have, I forget what they call them. They're not package stores. They've got a different name, but you had to buy by the case there from state-run stores.
State store.
So, and I had no idea.
Yeah, it was an interesting move. Like, obviously, once I got to know Matthew and Connor and learned a little bit about the law more intently than I knew on a basis. Like, we talk about control states versus what's the opposite term of a control state?
A non-control state.
There you go.
Thank you.
Control.
That is the technical term.
Out of control.
Yeah.
Smart states.
Yeah, it's absurd. I mean, look, honestly,
the right way.
I wish you guys come down to Mississippi. You'll meet William. He's one of a kind, absolutely. But I mean, he's from Texas. He's Texas born and bred via Germany. He was in New Braunfels and 3rd or maybe 4th generation German. But he talks about how the great Texas state laws and all that shit. And I had a buddy that recruited me to work here for the distributor up in Memphis. They could sell beer, wine, and spirits under the same rooftop.
Yeah.
So here you can only sell beer as a wholesaler, and that's it. You can sell light wine up to 6%, and that's where it stops. But now they kind of have gotten to the RTDs, and then they asked for a raise, which really helped us in our progression, in allowing Matthew and the guild and Connor to kind of take this to the next step. But anyways, it's archaic as hell down here. It's crazy.
Liquor is state run, correct?
And liquor is wine and spirits.
Okay.
So wine and spirits can sold together at liquor stores, and at a liquor store, it's only a single license. You can only own one liquor store. So there's no we don't have any liquor store chains, anything like that.
Yeah.
We do have a Costco. We only have one Costco because they can only have the one Costco liquor store attached to it. So
is that in the state? They can only have one in the state, or
yeah,
is it county,
Mississippi only allows you to own one liquor store.
Yeah.
I think we're 3 here.
Georgia's 2. I think
and you can only have 2. Well, we've got more than 3 total wines.
Oh, you know what it is? It's liquor. You only
liquor.
2 with liquor.
Yeah.
But all the rest can have beer and wine.
Yeah.
So I got excited when one opened not far from me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got a good liquor store next to me, because they for whatever you think of the beer selection, the liquor is usually expansive. And I went in there, it's like, no, it's just
no
beer
liquor
and wine.
at that one, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
they've
the
already
beer
maxed out their
right.
limits.
Yeah. Yeah. And they put those. They put the liquor ones up in the ritzy suburbs too. So apparently my downtown area is not ritzy enough.
No, there's too much competition there.
Exactly.
We do have, our camera won't pan around there, but we have a decent, not just brown water, but the hard, a lot of brown water in our
mostly brown water,
in our
honestly.
Bar, so to speak. But
looking at some Old Forester 1910,
some gins, some gins in there, and
Irish whiskey. Got some
Irish whiskey.
Got some boutique rum over here on the other side.
Yeah.
So
we've got, now you guys, is Cathead in Mississippi? Okay.
Yeah, they're from Jackson.
Yeah. That's we've got a handful here. We've got a little one in Decatur, Georgia, Independent Distilling, IDC. And I think they're my favorite in the state. I enjoy this stuff. They do these small batch releases in 375s. Outliers. Outliers. And those are nice.
Their other stuff is solid too, but those outliers, when they put those out, and they're few and far between, especially since COVID, I think, because of all the damage that did financially to a lot of folks, them included. But they were, I think you could count on one of them a year, maybe, and they were a little on the pricey side, but absolutely worth it.
They did a wheat whiskey that was just stellar. It was just fantastic. Guys, we're about to go in the last segment. Is there anything we have not mentioned that you want us to make sure we do mention?
No, man. Fire away. Right. We're good.
Cool.
We do have a little beer chatter.
I open this.
All right, fine. Tim,
I'm gonna use my Christmas present or my birthday present. I don't remember.
I'm gonna apologize now. When we're done with the last segment, I actually have to jump off and take care of some kids.
Okay, let's get it rolling then.
I don't mean to be rude, but I just want to tell you guys, thank you so much for this opportunity. We really appreciate what you guys are doing, not just for us, but for craft beer in general.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This is it's tremendous for us to be so new, to be asked to come on a program like this. Just really means a lot. So if I have to jump off at the end after the segment, just know how much I appreciate the invitation to be here, and really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Likewise, guys. We really
thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us, and I know we got chatty. I think mostly us, Brian. We'll get to run their mouths.
Probably, yeah.
We'll be here 4 hours.
The in between segments were longer than the show.
But let's get it rolling here, and we'll get her done, as they say, Nate.
They do.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Shake it back!
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/Beer Guys. Patrons get cool perks like Beer Guys swag and commercial-free episodes. And now let's get back to Fertile Ground Brewing Company.
We're back here to Fertile Ground Beer Company. Brian.
Beer Company. I'm sorry. I had a typo in my sheet.
Did you?
Sorry.
But guys, we just want to say we're talking Mississippi beer. You guys have just got a production brewery back in Jackson, Mississippi. There's been a hole there in the state for a few years. But in honor of those that came before you, we just cracked open our bottle of the 2016 Lucky Town single barrel bourbon barrel aged stout here.
Time out. Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
You said those that came before us. We are actually going to start next year a barrel aged beer program that we want to brew with all of the breweries in Mississippi, one each year, and we are going to call it Those That Came Before.
Oh, very okay, cool.
Very cool. So yeah, we've got Lucky Town here. I'd visited them. My cousin picked this up for me when they closed, but this is tasty.
It is.
Chocolate, toffee, some of those dark fruits in there, and I get a little bit of salinity, Brian.
A little bit. I get a touch of like the raisiny older. Right. I mean, it is 6 years old at this point in time. Will you be are the folks that brewed at Lucky Town, are they around? Will you be able to collaborate with them on some of this barrel aged product you're talking about?
Yeah, they've come in the tap room a few times. They've really been supportive, and we love hanging out with them. And so they've gone back to do I guess more traditional jobs to support their families, but they're still around town, and they're still a big part of the beer community.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Awesome. Well, guys, tell us about what is brewing there at Fertile Ground. What's on taps now? What's in the tanks coming up?
We've got a Michelob Ultra clone that we're going to be rolling out next week.
Nice. Nice. Yes. It's about time.
Yes. Craft Michelob Ultra.
We've got 12 beers on tap right now, and we've been open for 4 months. So we've been doing a lot. Our brewers have been hustling a lot to get large batch beers out pretty much every couple weeks, and we've been flying through those, which has been a lot of fun. At the same time, we've also got every Sunday we do it's called Small Batch Sunday, we do a small batch beer release from our pilot system. So that's been really fun to keep new things fresh every week in the tap room. So we really led with our core four. The core four beers we offer is a Pilsner, a lager, an IPA, and a pale ale. Those have been our large sellers in the tap room and are ones that we are super proud of and putting very much forward, not only in the tap room but in our first run of cans that we're doing, Pilsner lager, and IPA. On top of that, we've got, let's say, a couple of varieties of lagers, a Czech style dark lager that we love. We've got a Mexican style lager in the tank right now. Maddie, what else is back there right now?
That's pretty much it. We're about to load everything back up again. To the brewers' credit, those guys are continually working. It's amazing when you're talking about lager brewing in a 75-barrel cellar, which is 4 vessels and a 30-barrel bright take in addition to that. So, like, we were dancing a really finite dance when it comes to long-term lagering versus quick turnover on ales. And then our 1-barrel pilot system. I mean, those guys are really, really playing hopscotch back there. It's amazing. I mean, there are very finite holes that they have to jump in, and to be able to integrate and communicate that with the team. There's just a lot of things going on. We're very conscious of beer-flavored beer for everyone, but we also want to innovate at the same time.
I would also add, too, kind of to Maddie's point, I mean, we can certainly be churning out a lot more volume, and have, rushed out into distro a lot faster and just, flipped out, a half dozen or a dozen IPAs. But we are consciously and very intentionally brewing, lagers and old world style beers that take a long time to, to ferment and to get right. And philosophically, we don't want to change anything about that. So, we want to put the best product out we possibly can, and the best product takes time to brew. So we're being very intentional about it. We're not a pure lager house, but we are keenly focused on German style lagers and other European style beers.
I would say that William is committed to his craft, and Aaron, they're very yin and yang in the back of the house when it comes to classic European lagers and pilsners too. Hazy boys, adjuncts, kettle sours. They both bring their strengths to the table, but there's a lot of variety. That's what we aim for. We don't want to be pigeonholed, but at the same time, if there's an area of execution that those guys are really succeeding at, like, we really want to encourage them to grow in that direction and continue to evolve. At a comfortable pace and reasonable, of course, but it's just exciting. Those guys, like, they'll wake you up every day with their ideas, and they'll make you laugh and they'll make you smile, like, because they're passionate, and they'll hurt your feelings sometimes, but you got to have thick skin. That's the name of this game.
Makes sense. So you mentioned Small Batch Sunday. I was curious. That's your experimental line. What's been the most popular of those that you've done? You've done a few of them, right?
We've done one every week since we opened, I believe, and those beers generally last till the next weekend. They go pretty quickly, so it frees up. We have 16 taps. We've got plenty of tap handles, but I would say the ones that have gone the fastest. We've had a couple of hazy IPAs that have flown off.
Kettle sours.
I think the one, guys, that sold the quickest was the Saison, which blew my mind.
Yeah, it was called Saison à Poivre, in reference to the classic steak sauce. It was a Saison with peppercorn.
And
was it pink peppercorns, black? What was your peppercorn?
There was a blend. There was a pink black blend, actually. It was a medley, if you will.
All right, cool. I'm down with that. I'm good.
That was the impetus to then fire up a big batch of the Saison, which I was like, I can't believe we're going to commit to this. I didn't think the market would want it, but at the same time, they did, and it's been a huge seller.
Yeah, I never would have imagined that Central Mississippi would have been a market.
You talk about Boulevard and Tank 7. That's not what you think about when it comes to Mississippi, but people here have just grown
embraced it like crazy.
It's unbelievable.
My respect for the scene has grown tremendously. The new Saison is a hot seller in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah, that's wild.
They know what's going on.
Hey, baby.
That's it, man. The new hotbed for Saisons and farmhouse sales.
There you go.
and apparently CO2. A lot of that.
Oh, that's right.
A news story that we didn't get into. A lot of CO2 comes out of
there was that. It does, but from what I've heard, it is tumultuous, but I think we'll be okay. It's not a hunky dory story, but that's what William says.
Okay, we'll make it through.
That was one of my questions: is if the CO2 shortage was going to influence them, because I know that there's gear out there to reclaim CO2 in the brewing process, but I believe it's very expensive.
Yeah, it's incredibly expensive, and like even the generation of that actual gas to capture, it's that's another time for another podcast.
That's what we talked about that a little bit, so we know. So, Matthew, I'm going to ask you this one, sir. I know you being a beverage law attorney, you've been through a lot with your clients and that. When you did it for yourself, was there anything that surprised you, or were you ready for it all?
A lot surprised me, frankly. We play as lawyers such a small part in all of this. I mean, it's an important part, but it's minuscule in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it was lost on me how complicated, from an engineering, design, and just pure architectural, how do we lay out, the back of the house and the manufacturing facility in the most optimal way. That's difficult and it's challenging. I mean, a brewery with a tap room is a weird sort of thing. It's paradoxical in the sense that you have a retail bar, basically, but then in the back you've got a manufacturing operation. And I don't think I ever really appreciated how much time, thought, effort, and money goes into plumbing and glycol lines and where things need to be and what kind of flooring we need and why we need this kind of flooring and why we would use this vendor over that vendor. So there's a lot of this that's been an incredibly eye-opening experience. I think Connor said earlier, I think this is going to make us better advisors to our clients. But it was a crazy ride building this thing out. Absolutely crazy.
What a ride.
Seriously. Yeah. And you wouldn't even think about that. And as thinking about it from the homebrewing perspective, that's another thing that you would never consider, like flooring, glycol lines and how they have to be laid out, where things like all the wiring, everything else. Yeah, that's just insane, some of that.
All right, guys, just a minute left. If people want to know more about what is happening at Fertile Ground, what's going to be the best way for them to do that?
Oh, you'd love to follow us on Instagram. We're pretty active on social media. You can check us out at fertilegroundbeer.com as well. We're updating our website all the time, but I would say social media is a great way to do it. We got fun stuff coming at you all the time. You get to see Matty J's pretty face there almost daily.
Sounds perfect. Guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Absolutely. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Join us next week as we talk to Gnarly Barley Brewery out of Hammond, Louisiana. We are Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us for more craft beer news. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, guys. Those guys literally are our homies.
Clear.
All right.
Clear. Thanks,
now we're back
guys.
to streaming.
Kept messing it up. Sorry about it, guys.
Get these guys on here drinking. They don't know how to behave.
Yeah.
Talking and
Tim's like, I've got an outro to do here. I have an
outro to do. I gotta give me 7 seconds here. So guys, thanks so much. We appreciate it. It's good hanging with you. Connor, take care of those kids, man.
Thanks, man.
We'll get
take care right now.
out to all of you guys. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. We'll send you guys some beer soon.
Let us know when you get back down
Appreciate it.
Your family. Let us know when you get back down here.
What's that, Matthew?
I said, let us know when you get back down here to see.
We'll definitely will, man. I'll definitely come visit next time I'm there. So I went over at Christmas. My sister's coming over. My birthday's into September, and family's coming over here. So maybe Christmas again. Maybe the holidays again. I'll make it.
Sounds great, man.
So, but yeah, we'll get the show, the podcast, and the video stream will actually be live on YouTube and Facebook like not long after we get done. The podcast launches at midnight Saturday, and our radio stations, with the exception of one oddball in California, play Saturday and Sunday. So to just rotate. We do not have a station in Mississippi, do we?
I don't
We
think
do. We got one
wait.
in Hattiesburg.
Oh, Hattiesburg.
We
yeah.
do have a
Oh.
Hattiesburg station. I forget the call sign there, but
We do have 50 stations. It's getting harder to keep track
it
of
is.
them all, Tim.
Yeah,
It's
but
getting
we'll
harder.
send you the links for the podcast, and that we'd love for you guys to share it with your family.
We will.
We
Absolutely.
would appreciate it. So, guys, thanks again for joining us. Have a good one. All you watching the live stream, thanks for tuning in. Come back and hang with us next week. We'd appreciate it. Fertile Ground, cheers, guys. Have a good night. Once
See you
again,
guys.
we appreciate
Thank
you
you.
hanging with us. Cheers.